regular meeting of the Detroit Lake City Council is called to order, and at this time I'd like to invite all of you to please stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda for the council, the second item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the regular city council meeting held on September 12th, 2017, and a special city council meeting held September 27th, 2017, and the 2018 budget meetings. Is there anyone in the audience or any member of the council that wishes to make any changes or corrections to the minutes? Bruce?
Mayor, I do have an addition I want to make sure is in the minutes. It's at the top of page 4. Right after, this is on the tobacco 21, it's right after comments by Alderman Josephson. I know there was a lot said that night, Glory, but I would like the comments, the minutes to reflect my comment that, and I'll give you this to put in there, but it's that Alderman Imholt agrees with Alderman Josephson on moving ordinance forward. He suggested eliminating vaping to help build a consensus for the T21 tobacco portion. If we could add that, Mayor, I would appreciate it. Okay. And by the way, unofficially, I appreciate that she did not put in the minutes that I called the state legislature yahoos. There you go.
But it'll be reflected in this month's meeting. Any other changes or corrections? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion for approval of those various minutes.
So moved.
Seconded. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting on September 12th, a special city council meeting held September 27th, and the 2018 budget meetings. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Now I get to swear in a new firefighter who happens to be my neighbor right across the street from me. Michael, you ready for this? Yep. He is a good neighbor, by the way. Okay, please raise your right hand. I, Michael Frentress,
I, Michael Frentress,
promise that I will humbly serve
promise that I will humbly serve
all customers
all customers
with an urgent response to their crisis,
with an urgent response to their crisis,
with compassion,
with compassion,
sincerity and concern,
sincerity, concern,
patience, kindness, and respect.
patience, kindness, and respect.
I promise that I will,
I promise that I will,
at all times,
at all times,
conduct myself in a manner
conduct myself in a manner
that reflects positively
that respects positively
on the fire department in the city of Detroit Lakes.
on the fire department in the city of Detroit Lakes.
Finally, I promise to follow
Finally, I promise to follow
the policies of the fire department,
the policies of the fire department,
uphold the laws of our state and nation,
uphold the laws of our state and nation,
and the ordinances of the city of Detroit Lakes,
and the ordinances of the city of Detroit Lakes,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
my duties
my duties
to the best of my abilities,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
You're in. Congratulations. Do you want to introduce any family or friends or?
My daughter, Michaela,
Okay.
she's kind of shy too, but
I've never met her, but I see you all the time.
yeah, she doesn't come outside much.
All right. Oh. I guess I skipped something. The consent agenda is before the council, and all items with an asterisk considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered separately in its normal sequence on the agenda. Is there anyone in the audience or any member of the council that wishes to make any changes or additions to the consent agenda?
Mayor, item 6G, we would like to take off the consent agenda.
Okay. Any other items? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with 6G removed from the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda with the removal of item 6G. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And without objection, why don't we move to the pickleball group? What number was that again?
That is 6F.
6F, okay. So if we could take 6F, and is that on your agenda, Jay? Or Bruce, you gonna take it?
Bruce is gonna take it.
Okay. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
thank you, Your Honor. This is consideration approving the request from the Trail Lakes Pickleball Committee to raise funds to construct 6 pickleball courts in Peoples Park. And I'd ask our Public Works Director, Brad Green, to maybe give the audience and the council a little bit of background on what's happening here.
Thank you, Councilman Nivell. Want me to use that, I guess? Thank you, Council. We're a very dedicated group of pickleballers that started in 2013 when Laura and Lee Swanson approached some people in town and brought this idea up coming from, I think, where they've been wintering and stuff, pickleball. And since then, 2 of them started playing at DLCCC. They approached us that summer, the park board. We temporarily put some tape down at courts. We found a spot for them, which is in the old the outdoor skating rink on the cement slab there, which is fine, but as you know, it's made to hold water, not drain water. And we found out over the past few years that is definitely an issue. And so from 2 people, 2013, summer 2014, right now 2016, they recorded 2,794 hours of use down in the courts. And that's after an article. Then just this last year up through August, they had also played over 2,926. So they went over, every year they're growing and growing. And right now they have 135 people signed up that participate regularly in their league. And if you go by, it's in Peoples Park, if you go by there, it's really well used and taken off. And as you can see from the memo that you have before you that we sent out, what they've done is approach the park board, and we reviewed this on our meeting on Wednesday. And they've requested permission to raise $200,000 to put in 10 courts. And they listened to the park board, and we talked about, it isn't just Peoples Park or not, but we'll assess that. But we've recommended that we do look at building 6 courts in Peoples Park because, again, a big need is bathrooms, parking, the rest of the facilities, which that would fit. And they've also listened to the park board and the community and want to dedicate another 4 courts to be determined by the park board and staff, possibly in another area, another park, so we can develop not all in just one area. Are there any questions?
Any questions from the council?
Maybe if you can talk about the funding, how they're gonna fund it and so forth.
Well, yeah, as you say, Bruce, I think he's going to mention his motion, but what they've done, they're going out for pledge, and they'd like to spread the $200,000 over, pledged over 3 years. And then as part of the motion, the committee, the Public Work Committee has set some parameters for that, which is in the motion, that we have a set amount they should raise, and then commit to pledges if the cash is raised, then we could start, because they want it sooner or later, is hopefully if that money is raised and committed to per the motion, then we would commit to building these 6 courts, and then the other money would go into a fund, and we've talked with Pam, we'd set that aside, and then be dedicated for the pickleball courts.
Other questions?
The funding for this would be similar, for those of you who remember how we funded the pavilion with private donations. The people make the checks out to the city so they can get a tax deduction. Pam will set it aside in the fund so we know how much is collected, how much needs to come in.
Further questions? Otherwise, I would entertain a
Yeah, I'll
motion.
make a motion here, Your Honor. So this is based on our discussion with the pickleball group on Monday. They indicated they felt they could raise $200,000 for 10 courts, of which 6 would be constructed hopefully in the spring of 2018. So the motion would be to move to allow construction of 6 pickleball courts in Peoples Park with private fundraising of $140,000 pledged and $60,000 of cash to the city by March 1st, 2018, and that's my motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to move forward with the construction of the pickleball courts under the terms Bruce outlined. Discussion on the motion.
You know, it's a clarification.
Do you say 140,000?
Yeah, so 140 plus 60 is 200.
Okay.
Further questions or discussion? We have a motion and a second on the table. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. There you go.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks for coming. You don't hear that too often.
You want another round?
At this time, we'll adjourn the regular meeting and call to order a public hearing to receive public comments on the proposed vacation of the utility easement in Stonebrook Village Second Edition. Who would like to speak to that from the city? Larry?
This is a consideration to the vacation of utility easements in Stonebrook Addition, and previously we vacated the platted street in that area. This is just for the utility easements, so we need to get rid of those as well in order to allow this project.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to the issue of the vacation of the utility easement in Stonebrook Village Second Edition? Hearing none, that public hearing is closed, and I would entertain a motion from the council.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead with the resolution vacating the utility easement in the Stonebrook Villa Second Edition.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the resolution vacating the utility easement in Stonebrook Villa Second Edition. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. At this time, I'll call to order a public hearing to receive public comments on the nuisance at 1125 West Avenue. And I would call on Priscilla at this time to give the council an update.
Hello. A complaint was filed against 1125 back in May. There were piles of junk around the property, vehicles parked in the grass. In August, I checked again. I sent a letter with a public hearing notice. And then I did speak with the gentleman. He said he was going to clean it up, and he's made some progress, as you can see, just not too in accordance with the zoning ordinance. So I did speak with him this morning. Most of that is driveway. It was a gravel driveway. The grass has grown over it. And we did talk about different ways he could bring it up to code. Staff recommends 30 days, to give him 30 days and then abate the nuisance.
Okay, do you have more slides, or is that? That's it, okay.
That was it.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to the issue of the nuisance at 1125 West Avenue? Does anyone in the council have any questions for Priscilla about the situation? Okay. Hearing none, that public hearing is closed, and I would entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion that we go ahead and abate this after 30 days. He is close. He's got a lot of cleaned up, but he's got just a little bit left, and he's kind of been sitting on it. So I think we need to be abatement, so we'll go ahead and get it all finished up.
So he's on the 10-yard line.
He's on the 10-yard line.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to allow the property owner 30 more days to complete the cleanup of the property, and at that time, if it's not completed, then the nuisance will be abated. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. At this time, I'll call to order a public hearing to receive public comments on the nuisance at 609 Richwood Road. And again, I would call on Priscilla for a report on that property.
Multiple complaints were called in about 609 Richwood Road. This photo shows a direct-on photo of a camper in the grass. It's hard to see, but the next photo shows a camper, a truck. There's a fish house, a truck in the backyard. That was August. September, now there's a boat. Next slide. This one kind of lays out, it's hard to see. A fish house, a truck, a camper, a pontoon, a truck with a trailer. And then today, there still is garbage They must need another receptacle. And then the next photo shows that they're in the backyard. They have 2 fish houses, a snowmobile trailer, and another truck. Staff recommends, staff does not have a recommendation at this time.
Okay. And so this complaint just came in?
It came in August.
In August? I was looking something up here while you were talking, so I maybe missed, but you've talked to them, right? And they,
I have not talked to them.
okay.
They did not respond to the certified letter that was mailed out. I also mailed, just regular mail, the same notification of the deadline of October 30th.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to the issue of the nuisance at 609 Richwood Road? Hearing none, that public hearing is closed, and I would open up for discussion and/or a motion from the council.
Last night when I got home, I had a message to return a call, and I had one call from neighbors asking what we were gonna do about this. And so this morning I went up, when I got back from Rotary, I drove down there and I walked the property, and there's 8 units on that property. And there's garbage pretty much over the whole yard. And so I can certainly understand why the neighbors want to see this cleaned up. And they haven't responded to the letters that Priscilla has sent, like she said. And I would make a motion that we go ahead and give her 30 days to clean this up, or else we'll have to, for the abatement.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, there's been a motion that's been made and seconded to allow the owner 30 days to bring the property into compliance, and at the end of that 30 days, if it's not completed, then we would abate the nuisance. Discussion on the motion.
Just a request, my request at last night's meeting was just that we defer the recreational vehicle cleanup piece of it until we just kind of dust off that piece of our nuisance ordinance and see if we want to make any changes or if we want to keep it as is. I don't know that we've looked at it very much in a long time.
Okay.
I think that the only thing is that, I was under the impression that there was just a few items, but the whole yard is full of these items. And they're on the lawn and every place, and for a neighbor to live next door to that, I don't think it's the type of neighborhood that we want to have established in Detroit Lakes when we have so many vehicles parking on the lawn. And it's also the garbage issue. And it's between the two combinations, it's not a very good environment. So I can see why the neighbors are wondering what's happening, and even it's starting to run over the neighbor next door now. And I see similar situations, but it's 8 items from pickups to pontoons to boats to Yeti-type fish houses. There's a lot of equipment all parked on the lawn. And we allowed this to happen throughout Detroit Lakes, we wouldn't look very nice. We wouldn't be the nice, clean city that we'd like to be on. I thought last night there was only 1 or 2 items, but it's a whole yard full of items. And I just think that we have to get this cleaned up before winter comes in.
Could we pull up the screen that we had all the red circles on again, please? You had about 6 of them where there was red circles. Yes. So, get it. So Ron, you're suggesting rather, I know the discussion last night was that maybe we wait on the camper and the pontoon because those are more under that RV ordinance. And are you okay with waiting on those? Because isn't that what you're suggesting, Jamie?
We could probably wait on the pontoon and that, but there's so many units in there, it looks like a used car lot. I mean, it's packed. Matt, did you go over there and, I met Matt Rick, I think you went on the saw it?
Yeah.
I understand. I mean, I agree that it's too much, and But I just think we could save ourselves some grief in the long run. I think we'd just take a look at that ordinance. Make sure we can get paid for what our expectations are today.
Well, it sounds to me like there's maybe two issues. One is the RV part of it. But I'm also hearing that there's a lot of other stuff there that's a problem.
Yeah.
So, it's up to you guys what you want to do about it, but, you know, we can certainly look at that RV ordinance regardless of what action is taken on this particular situation.
Well, I think that probably the CDC is gonna have the staff look at that, but I think it's gonna take some time to sit down, maybe get it through next spring to see what we can really do. Because I don't know if we wanna have people parking units, this many units on the lawns throughout town. It wouldn't give us a very good impression of Detroit Lakes. You know, if it was just one or two items, that's a different case, but here we have a person with 8, plus we have the garbage situation. It's not a very good environment for the people that are behind them along to the one side. It's a mess, it really is. It needs to be cleaned up.
Mayor, I have another question.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Priscilla, are the trucks licensed or unlicensed?
I'm not quite sure. I didn't look at that.
Well, I know we have an ordinance on unlicensed vehicles, so
I
certainly.
saw a license on one, I didn't see a license on the one in the back.
So certainly, I mean, Mayor, I guess I'm leaning towards what Alderman Marks Erickson had said, that maybe we could give them a little leeway on the camper and the pontoon. And if the vehicles are licensed, then they should be part of the nuisance.
Okay, Matt?
Mayor, just to keep this consistent with the previous one on West Avenue we just looked at, you know, I think we look at the garbage and I think we look at the vehicles. You know, you look at that, that's 2 trucks, could be 3 trucks out of there right now, and that would give us time to look at the recreational, the fish house, the camper, the pontoon, just to keep it standard with what we just previously
I
did.
think there's three Yeti fish houses in the backyard. It isn't just a fish house, I thought I counted
I
3.
think there's 2 fish houses and 1 shed.
And 1 shed, okay. But it's multiple units.
Well, we have a motion and a second on the table. If I don't hear more discussion here pretty soon, I'm gonna call the question. If you wanna change the motion, that's fine, but we got a lot more on the agenda.
I just think if we give a pass to this one, it's gonna set up a bad precedent. And we've hired a Priscilla to come in and do these for us. It's her job to come up with it. And if we're gonna go ahead and question everything that comes back into us here, I just don't think we're giving her the support that we need. But this is really bad. I did call up all the council people on the committee, asked them to go look at that, because walking on that property and seeing the mess is, that one look for 2 seconds to tell you that it needs to be taken care of.
Ron and I would agree with you. I think it is something that we look at, but looking at Alderman Marks Erickson too, though, I look at that and say, we have Priscilla in here that's bringing up some things that we haven't looked at in years. Maybe it is time to look at those, dust them off, and get a current standard. It's going to put pressure on us to get that updated quicker than later.
But we have been looking at this stuff, and we have been doing it. We've been getting rid of this type of property and trying to keep the neighborhoods clean. But if this property was next door to any of us here at this council, we'd be calling Kelsey up and saying what's going on, because it is not good. And you say, okay, it's on the north side of town, but could be in some other part of town that it could spread. And I just don't want to have a president, we're going to go ahead and say, well, hey, it's okay, we can, it's that bad. And I wish everybody could have gone over there and seen it, because you'd be hesitating how to vote if you saw it in person.
Jamie?
You know, it has nothing to do with what side of town it's on. I have to say that. It just, I don't think that when we do look at the ordinance again, that we're gonna allow this many recreational vehicles on any property. I don't. But I think that right now, because I'm not sure there's a limit on the actual number right now.
No, there's not.
There's a limit in other ways. And so I just think we should look at it.
Could I ask Priscilla a question? Is the first letter
this September 26th letter. That's the first letter you sent, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Wimmer, we've been working on that since a few months ago. Now here, what is it, 2 weeks. So I'm not so sure that treating this one the same way as we're treating Mr. Wimmer is valid, because Mr. Wimmer had like 2 months at least to do something and to get working at it. So I'm not saying that I think this is right. I don't. I think we need to do something, but Priscilla needs to find out whether those vehicles are licensed, number one. And maybe Jamie's correct. We should look at how valid is our ordinance now. And really, if there's nothing in there that indicates they can't have 4 fish houses or 2 fish houses, then where do we stand as far as that goes? I guess I would prefer to give them one. I realize they didn't respond. I'd send them another letter and say, here it is, November. If it's not done in November, we abate. But
Kelsey, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I think just for matter of clarification, so basically what the ordinance requires is parking and storage of basically vehicles, RVs, trailers, has to be basically on a hard surface. So, you know, if the vehicle is parked in the driveway and licensed, that's not a violation, but when it's in the grass, that's the violation. So the discussion we had at the CDC committee meeting is, should we review that, considering that the community that we are, it's not uncommon to see a boat or a pontoon or a camper parked in you know, alongside a garage or something. But Alderman Marcus Erickson, I think, hit a good point there. I don't even see it, if we go back and review that ordinance, that we're probably going to allow the numerous amount of things parked on the grass like we have here. But to be clear, that's what the current ordinance requires, is that you got to have those vehicles parked on a hard surface, and that's the ordinance we're enforcing.
And all these are parked basically on what I saw, is that right, Priscilla? Yeah.
That's correct.
Well, if I made that motion to go until November 30th, but give her some time on this to get it straightened around, and if she can move all those to her driveway on a hard surface.
You want to amend your
I'll
motion?
amend the
Matt?
motion to go till the end of November.
Who
November
was the
30th.
seconder on the motion?
I wasn't, I'm
Would you
fine
be
with
willing
that.
to change it? Okay. So the motion is to allow the property owner until the 30th of November to straighten things out there, and then after that, we would abate the nuisance. Is that correct?
Correct. And it's also, it's not just the vehicles on there, but it's also the garbage mess in the yard and stuff. that needs to be cleaned up.
Okay, is there any further discussion with that program or motion?
actually, Priscilla's letter says there isn't a public hearing until November 14th, actually, so I think we're well to give her till the 30th of November.
So are you saying the notice was not the right date or whatever?
What I'm saying is, if you read the letter, it says, if you don't take care of these, the violations will be referred to the city council for the public hearing on November 14th. We're like a month ahead. So actually,
That's what the letter says, and we'll have to bring it to November council meeting then. But I think in the meantime, we could certainly let her know about this meeting and what our feelings are.
yeah,
So for now,
it's a little poke, an extra poke.
are we just gonna defer it till the November meeting? Is that,
According to what the letter says, yes.
okay, well, I already closed the public hearing, and we'll just defer action then to November. Motion and second.
We should have another public hearing.
We'll just send another one. Is there anyone in the audience that would like me to adjust an item on the agenda and move it forward? I see Dave's here. I'll get to you in just a second, Dave. Some of the other folks that were here
Back
earlier
there.
that do you have an item you'd like me to move on the agenda? Oh, that's Ben. He is,
6 or 5E, I think.
so 5E, Ron, if we could do 5E. 5E, yeah.
Consideration to resolution adopting the findings of fact and approving the variance to allow a 18-foot front yard setback for construction of a garage at 217 Union Street, East. Ben Osowski. Larry, do you want to give us some update on that?
The Planning Commission held a public hearing regarding this request and recommends approval. This particular property has an L-shaped lot, and part of it is only 50 feet deep where he was planning to put the garage. So he's putting the garage back towards the back end of that. This garage would actually be in line with his house on that lot, so it would match what's there, and it would match similar developments in that area.
Okay, the committee goes ahead and move for the resolution adopting the findings and for what the Planning Commission, I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution adopting the findings of fact and approving the variance request at 217 Union Street. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is A.
Let me see if there's anybody else here, if I could. Anybody else have an item they want me to adjust? If not, could we go to agenda item 9A, please? Because Dave's here. And Jamie?
My name is consideration for approving the request submitted by Hub 41 to hold Blacktoberfest in the parking lot behind the Fairfield Inn and Hub 41. I would call on Kelsey Clem to discuss the changes in this, because we sort of approved something similar to this last month, but there have been some changes.
Yes, so the council reviewed a request at a special council meeting at the end of last month. The request has changed somewhat. If you remember, the request then was to close off a couple of blocks on Westlake Drive and basically have a band out on the street. This request is shrunk down from that, and the fact that we're basically looking at not closing off any city streets. It would basically remain on their private property, and then they would have basically this one-man band set up outside in the backside of Hub 41. Again, the kind of conditions of the request have changed in that as far as liquor licensings go, we won't be looking at issuing a temporary liquor license. What we're looking at doing is just issuing a temporary premises expansion of the existing liquor license at Hub 41. And that's basically what would allow for the sale and consumption of alcohol on that premises. The other question, as we dealt with also in the previous request, deals with basically the noise ordinance. They're proposing to have the band play from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. Again, if you recall last time, we talked about issuing a community event exception is what's provided for in our noise ordinance. I guess the only thing that maybe has changed since then, we talked about them having a nonprofit group involved with doing the street dance who would have the liquor license, and then that nonprofit would help maybe qualify that this is a community event exception, and maybe I'll let Dave speak to it, but I don't know if at this point we have any nonprofit involved in the event, or if DL Youth Hockey is still involved.
They didn't want to pay the fee to get the license this month because they can only use it one time. We still plan on donating the money to them, so they'd be involved in that aspect. But they won't be getting a license and liability. It'll be on Hubs instead, just to save them some money.
So I guess the options there is, again, if you have amplified music after 10 o'clock, you probably need that community event exception. Otherwise, you're probably in violation of the noise ordinance. Otherwise, it'd have to basically be done at 10 o'clock.
So like I said, the hockey team still will be getting money off it. You know, just the liability will be in Hub's name instead.
So Dave, I think what the committee was wanting to recommend was that, you know, maybe you start your music an hour earlier and quit by 10 o'clock, and then we don't have to deal with a particular noise ordinance exception, you know, so.
Got it. I mean, we still would like 11 if possible. It's 8 to 11, not 6 to 11 is the ideal time. If we can, that's fine, but we would like to play till 11 if that is something we could do.
So if, maybe I'll ask Kelsey to field this, if they went past 10 o'clock with their music, they would run the risk of having a complaint called in, right?
Well, I just say they'd run the risk of violating
The noise
The noise
ordinance, yes. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed that. We can't give them an exception to 11 o'clock?
You can, the council has to make the decision whether they qualify or you want to grant them a community festival exception.
Okay.
Mr. Grimsley, looking at this too, the kind of sketch here, how it's all moved on your property there. I know last month I kind of requested having the stage in the back and all the sound going out over the lake.
And it would still face the lake, we just have it behind the building facing the lake. So it still would face
Okay.
that way, just be moved, 20 feet onto land that we own.
Gotcha, I interpreted this the other way where it'd be going into the parking lot and up the residential streets.
Oh, got it. The sketch might be a little bit off. It would be, it'd be behind hub facing south.
Okay, so it would be facing J&K Marine basically out over
Yes,
the
yeah.
lake.
So basically move
Amplified
that
sound
20
going that
feet.
route. Okay, thank you.
Other questions or comments?
I just have a question. So we give other businesses permits to exceed the noise variance during the summer periodically. So why can't we give them that same kind of permit? What precludes that?
Your ordinance limits noise permits to be issued between Memorial Day and Labor Day.
Ah, that's my answer then.
Okay, further questions?
If I missed that earlier, I'm sorry.
It's fine. But to follow up on that, at the community event, we can then, you're saying?
There is a separate exemption to the noise ordinance, separate from the noise permit. That is sort of open-ended. It's for community festivals. And in the past, we have construed the community festival to be an event organized by a nonprofit community organization. Example is the JCs. The difference here is that this is an event organized by a private business. And so whether or not this is a community festival and fits within the community festival exemption is ultimately up to the council to decide, but in the past, that has not been done. And so then the concern would be, what about the next time?
And I would say, I think it could be viewed as one just because it does involve a lot of businesses. It's something we all teamed up on. And that's something that could benefit the community. So because of that, I would view it as a community event.
Okay, Jamie, are you prepared to make a motion at this time?
I am.
Okay.
This did, as you can imagine, prompt quite a bit of discussion and not 100%. I don't know that this is the recommendation is unanimous with that, but I think our recommendation as a committee was to approve the request for the temporary expansion permit, but limit the noise to 10 o'clock. That the noise, that the band has to end at 10 o'clock, basically, in the sense that we would not be granting or recognizing a community event exception.
Okay, is there a second? Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the expansion permit for the liquor license, and that we won't do anything with the noise ordinance. You'll just have to operate under the current ordinance, which changes at 10 o'clock. And so I would say, because it's dark anyway, it'd start earlier,
Yeah.
So,
Your Honor, I'm going to just test the waters here, though. I'm going to amend the motion to allow them to play till 11 o'clock under the community event exception. That's my amendment to the motion.
Does anybody want to second Bruce's amendment to the motion?
Second.
You vote on the amendment first.
Okay. Any discussion on the amendment that's been seconded?
I've got a comment.
Further discussion?
I guess that starts to, erode our community event festival definition if we're gonna just, basically throw that out and now we're just gonna grant these community festival or events to businesses, and I think it's just a slippery slope, and I think, like we've discussed in committee, that basically we should probably try to keep that line a little bit between nonprofits and for-profit businesses, so I guess I can't vote in favor of the amendment.
Further discussion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
How many was that?
Roll call.
Do roll call. Bruce, aye. Aye. Aye, 3 ayes,
No, here.
4 ayes, and 5 noes. So the amendment fails. We're back to the original motion. I think we've probably discussed enough, but I'll call the question on the original motion, and that is to just approve the expansion of the liquor license premise permit and nothing of the noise ordinance. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. So we wish you the best of luck. We hope it's a successful event, and we'll kind of see how it goes.
Yeah, and we still hope to see all of you attending.
Yep, thank you. We'll ask one more time if there's anyone in the audience that has something else they want me to adjust, I'll certainly do that. Yes, ma'am.
How about 5C?
5C, okay. Come on.
Okay, consideration the sale of land at 1908 Long Ridge Road. It's a Deadshot Bay Villa Townhouse Association. I'll call on Larry to explain that one.
Yeah, Deadshot Villas Townhome Association has made an offer to the city to purchase .65 acres of land that the city recently purchased at a county auction. Their offer was for $3,500. We have countered with agreeing to sell it to them for $7,000, with them paying for all of the closing costs and any other costs associated with the sale.
And did they accept their counter offer?
I haven't been authorized to make that counter offer yet,
Oh, okay.
so that's what you're here to decide.
Can I just ask one question? What are you gonna do with that? Isn't that a big swamp?
The only parcel, I'm actually on the board of Deadshot Condo Association.
Yep,
But this is the Villas Association that has sent this letter to you.
okay.
But it affects the Deadshot as well, because it's a parcel that butts up against the villas and our garages. It's off of Long Ridge, it's on our private kind of road. And we're concerned that if the city were to decide they wanted to sell it, it wouldn't be conforming to either of our, I don't know if that would be a possibility or not.
Okay.
But we've been mowing it for 18 years. This small area of grass in between the garages and the villas. And they would like to retain that land and keep it as a green space and continue mowing it.
I understand.
Mayor,
Thank you.
just to
Yeah,
clarify.
they're not interested in the swamp.
Yeah,
Right,
just to
I-
clarify, there's like 26 acres, which is the wetland, and this is just like
Just a small part of
0.65
it.
acres, it's just a little parcel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the staff recommendation is to counter their offer with an offer of $7,000, and they pay all the closing
Closing costs.
fees associated with the transaction, right?
Correct.
I don't know, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Can I ask what the city paid for it? I've heard 7,000, 9,000.
Doesn't matter what we paid for it, what it's worth.
Oh, it's what it's worth. Okay, I'm just curious. I'm sure that's public record.
We paid $7,000.
We did pay $7,000.
Okay. Okay.
And ma'am, can I just get your name and address for our minutes?
Sure, Linda Weedman.
Okay,
I'm at 1932 Long Ridge Road.
okay, thank you.
And I guess the other piece of this for me is, since the Detroit Lakes owns that wetland and our condo property butts up against it, we have some concerns about the trees and the shelter belt of trees that are behind us and beaver control. And would like to request the city to address that as well.
Kelsey Clem's in charge of our beaver patrol.
So I need to talk to him.
So, further discussion, otherwise we'll entertain a motion.
Okay, the committee recommends the sale of this property, 1908 Long Bridge Road, .65 acres, to the Deadshot Bay Village Townhouse Association for the amount of $7,000 plus all closing costs, and I so move.
Is there a second? Second. Motion's been made and seconded to counter an offer received to purchase the land at 1908 Long Bridge Road with a counter offer of $7,000, and the buyers pay all the closing fees associated with the transaction. Discussion on the motion?
Mayor, I just need to explain my outburst there. Again, trying to get both folks that are buying land or selling land to the city to understand that the city's not a charity. In other words, if the land is worth, I think it's worth more than $7,000. So go back to your folks and tell them they're getting a good deal.
Okay.
That's not quite the way I would have put it as a realtor, but
Yeah, no.
But we have to remember too, it's on a private road, so you'd have a hard time getting into it.
okay, so all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, if there's no one else that wants to adjust anything, I guess we're right in the community development anyway, so Ron, you want to go from the
Let's
top?
go to 5A in the committee, Community Development Committee has met on this, and we want to go ahead and authorize Kelsey Clare, my administrator, to go ahead and advertise for a building official for Detroit Lakes, and the committee recommends, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to authorize the city administrator to advertise for a new building official. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is 5B, discussion regarding future annexations. For information, the staff and council members will be meeting with Detroit Township to discuss shared road expenses as well as possibility of some annexations. And it's mainly for a point of information, but that'll be coming up here. And when is that meeting going to be, Kelsey? Did we get affirmed on that?
Won't have confirmation till tonight, the
Okay.
township's meeting
Where
tonight.
that's going to be there, okay. Next item would be 5D, consideration resolution approving preliminary plat of the Cohen Acres in the city's 2-mile extraterritorial area at 20309 County Highway 131, Douglas and Hilder Cohen. Larry, do you want to update us on that?
This is a 2-lot residential plat across the road from Floyd Lake. One of the property owners over there wants to buy a 1-acre tract of land from Mr. Cohen and put an accessory building on there. So that's why the reason for the plat.
Okay.
The planning commission unanimously approved this, and the committee recommends, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution approving the preliminary plat of Cohen Acres in the city's 2-mile extraterritorial area 20309, County Highway 131. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Next item was 5F, consideration of resolution denying the rezoning of R2 1 and 2 family residential district to R4 limited multi-family residential district from 1106 West Avenue. This is denial. The planning commission turned this down, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to deny a rezoning request at 1106 Westlake Drive. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is 5G, this is the same property, but consideration of resolution adopting the finding of fact and denying application for a conditional use permit to allow 6-unit condominium in the Shoreland District at 1106 West Lake Drive. Jake and Alexis Peters. It was voted down by the planning commission, and the community development committee goes ahead with that approval, so deny it, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to deny the application for a conditional use permit at 1106 Westlake Drive. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. it, Ron?
Yes, that's
Okay,
it.
we'll go to the Public Works Committee, Chairman Sherman.
I'm going to defer that to Mr. Imholt.
Oh, that's right.
He's not able to be here.
Sorry, Jake. Bruce?
Thank you, Your Honor. Item A is for discussion, just for information only for council. Staff will be setting a meeting with folks along West Lake Drive, as it says, County Road 6 to the Pelican River, to discuss possible sanitary sewer improvements. So I'm sure the council will be notified of that meeting if anybody wishes to attend. Item B is consideration of resolution accepting a preliminary engineering report and setting a public hearing, which would be in our November meeting for the proposed Long Lake annexation, Phase 4A sanitary sewer and water main improvements, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution accepting a preliminary engineering report and setting a public hearing for the proposed Long Lake annexation Phase 4A sanitary sewer and water main improvements. And that hearing would be at our next city council meeting, correct? Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item C, consideration of a resolution supporting Becker County's grant application to the local road improvement project. The committee recommends approval, and I so move.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution supporting Becker County's grant application to the local road improvement project. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item D is consideration of adopting the ADA transition plan for the city of Detroit Lakes. Your Honor, our city engineer, John Pratt, said he could give about a 40-minute presentation on this if you'd like him to. Otherwise, I
We're gonna
would
need
move,
some filler, that's good.
otherwise I would move for approval.
Okay, is there a second?
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt the ADA transition plan for the city of Detroit Lakes. Discussion of the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Good luck, John. Thank you. 5E is consideration approving the agreement for the summer recreational program between the city of Detroit Lakes and Detroit Lakes Community and Cultural Center. This is the same agreement we've had in the past with just a $2,000 increase per year for 3 years. Committee has reviewed this, recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agreement for the summer rec program between the city of Detroit Lakes and the Detroit Lakes Community and Cultural Center. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Item F, we've done already, which is, I mean, that was fantastic that these folks came forward with pledging 200 grand to the city. That's absolutely great. Item G is the item we pulled off the consent agenda at my request. This is, the Hockey Association wants to auction off 4 parking spots in the Kent Freeman Arena. And the committee reviewed that request and recommended denial of the 4 spots for the fundraiser, and I so moved.
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to deny the request from the Youth Hockey Association to allow them to auction off, I guess, what is it, the use of 4 spots during the...
Exclusive use.
The exclusive use of 4 parking spots.
No, Your Honor, I think we did give direction to Brad and Tom that obviously if they need to reserve some spots for the concession manager, or I even suggested that, I know you were been involved in coaching, if it would help the coaches to have a couple of spots, that's fine, but we just didn't feel it was appropriate for public parking to be sold off. So that was the discussion at the committee.
Okay. Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say it. Go ahead, Matt.
I guess I don't, being at the rink quite often in the winter, every day, or just about every day, I guess I don't see as this being a large deal. If you're talking about coaches, there's probably 30 coaches in Youth Hockey Association. It would take a lot more than just these. So I guess maybe it's a slippery slope compared to, opening that up again, but I guess I don't foresee this being a big deal.
Yeah, Matt, and the thing I would look at here is, and if the council wants to, just like we talked about with the RV, if we want to set a policy, I'm happy to have that discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so I'm going to the community center, can I buy a spot in a public parking spot and have a spot reserved for me at the community center? Do we want to do that at Detroit Mountain for those of us that, Mayor goes up to Detroit Mountain, can he pay for a select spot out at I mean, if you want to get into that policy.
No, and that's why I say it's a
then
slippery
let's-
slope.
Then let's have that policy discussion. Or if we want to sell those spots off, should it go to the youth hockey or should it go to the city? You know, that's, I think, the discussion we had. So certainly we can have more discussion on this, but just right now, the request was to be able to auction these off, and we felt it was not appropriate.
Okay, further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anything else on the public works, Bruce?
So, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll go to the finance committee, Chairman Leonard.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item A was just a review of the list that came out of the workshop that was held back in September. Kelsey has that available if you want to see the list of potential projects that we need to fund in the city and some options for doing that. No action was taken on that, nor need be. Item B is consideration to approving approving quotes, but what we did was we didn't have all the quotes in yet, so what we want to do is authorize up to $60,000 for air conditioning system for the library. Once the quotes are all received, we have one quote which would cost $60,000. They really need that air conditioning system over there. Anyway, we recommended approval of, again, authorizing up to $60,000 for staff to replace the air conditioning system at the library, and I so move.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the quotes for the new air conditioning system that needs to be installed at the library, and is there further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Item C, the Detroit Country Club has requests for funding. We had discussion on this, gave the city staff some direction in further discussions with the Detroit Country Club, and took no action at this time, so we'll see that in the future.
Okay.
Item D is a resolution providing for the issuance and sale of approximately $2,610,000 in bonds for Highway 59 North and Long Pines Estates Phase 1 projects. The committee reviewed this resolution, recommended approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution providing for the issuance and sale of bonds for the Highway 59 North and Long Pines Estate Phase 1 projects. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries.
Thank you. Item E is consideration to a resolution declaring costs to be assessed for the Long Bridge Heights Phase 3 Street and Utility Improvement Project, and setting a special assessment hearing for 5 p.m. on November 14th, 2017 on the proposed amendments for our proposed assessments for those projects. Again, the Finance Committee looked at this, recommended approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution declaring cost to be assessed for the Long Bridge Heights Phase 3 project and setting a special assessment hearing for our November 14th council meeting. Discussion on the motion?
Mayor?
Yes, Bruce.
So Dan, was there terms discussed, like interest rate? Do we have an interest rate that we're considering?
Okay, well, the first one would be, the item D would be a bond. And so the interest rate on the bonding was running about 3%. Now, we haven't discussed any interest rates on the assessments. That will come up at the hearing in November. At this point, for the assessments, we're just setting the special assessment hearing and saying that we need to assess the costs. Yeah.
Did you want to make a suggestion, Bruce, or comment?
Maybe I'll provide a clarification.
Okay.
So our policy is we usually assess 2% over what our bond rate is. We're estimating our bonds to be about 3%, so we're looking at about a 5% interest rate on the assessment.
That was my question, thank you.
Okay.
But
Very good.
there's something different on Long Bridge Heights because we're not bonding for it.
Oh,
There was, I believe there was an agreement, there was a developer's agreement that laid out an interest rate in the developer's agreement on that one.
So there'll be two different,
Recall
kind of two different things
Yes.
here.
Top of my head.
Long Bridge Heights stands on its own, and then Highway 59 North and Long Pine Estates Phase 1 are under the bond, so they will be at.
Likely at 5%.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think we voted, did we? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
I lost track, are we on item F here, Honor?
I think so.
Item F, okay.
You're probably asking the wrong guy.
Yeah, well. Consideration to, item F is consideration to a resolution declaring cost to be assessed for the Highway 59 North Stony Road Utility Extension Project and setting a special assessment hearing for, also for November, for 5 PM on November 14th on the proposed assessments for that project. Again, the Finance Committee looked at this, recommended approval, and I so moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution declaring cost to be assessed for the Highway 59 North and Stony Road Utility Extension Project and setting a special assessment hearing for our November 14th council meeting. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries.
One more time, Your Honor. Item G is a consideration to a resolution declaring cost to be assessed for the Long Pine Estates Phase 1 Street Utility Improvement Project and setting a special assessment hearing for 5 PM November 14, 2017 on the proposed assessments for said project. Committee recommended approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution declaring cost to be assessed for the Long Pines Estate Phase 1 Street and Utility Improvement Project and setting a special assessment hearing for our November 14th council meeting. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
And
That should be
that's
it, huh?
all I have.
And we'll go to the Public Safety Committee, Chairman Bolton.
Item 8A, consideration to a resolution accepting the FEMA grant through Act Assistance to Firefighters in Operations and Safety in the amount of $168,286 with a local match of $8,014. What this is a resolution with a small grant that the chief is looking to purchase new air packs. Anything to add, chief?
Nope.
Okay. With that, we would make a recommendation, move forward with this.
Okay.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt a resolution accepting, so does that mean we got the grant?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, accepting the FEMA grant through Assistance to Firefighters for Operations and Safety in the amount of $168,286 with a local match of $8,014. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Do I need
Oh,
Yep.
hit that?
Yep, item 8E is on the consent agenda, but we'd ask the chief to tell us what's going on tomorrow night at the fire hall.
Oh, we're having an open house for fire prevention week here. It's free hot dogs and Coke, I do believe, and barrel fun potato chips. So we'd like to welcome everybody down there to have a hot dog and two at the fire station.
And you always get those good hot dogs too, don't you? The ones with the coarse cover on them? You
We
know?
got both kinds.
And what time is that tomorrow,
Adult kind
chief?
and the youth kind.
What time, chief?
5 o'clock.
Thank you.
Okay, and
That's
that's
all,
it,
Your Honor.
that's it, okay. And Jamie, I don't think there's anything left on the liquor gambling, right?
There's one.
There is, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yep. We had one item that's before you on the table. Consideration to approving the issuance of a special intoxicating liquor license for Right Choice Lodging, doing business as Holiday Inn to sell and serve intoxicating liquor in designated areas at the DLCCC, October 14th, October 19th for Mad View Country, and November 17th for Belfast Cowboys, and the Pavilion on October 14th for the Seward Hoekstra Wedding Reception. The committee recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve those various special liquor licenses to the Holiday Inn for those events as outlined by Jamie. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. And there's nothing on the Public Utilities Commission. I'm sorry.
I just had some of this stuff for heads up for next month's meeting. Renell will present his recommendation for the wastewater rates. There's a study done on our cost of service study. So on top of the other hearings and stuff we have going on next month, that'll take some time to go through the rate recommendations.
So we'll probably have a lengthy meeting.
Probably have a lengthy meeting.
Eat a good dinner before.
Right. I do not have recommendations. I'm thinking most of these folks that are eligible will probably want to continue in their positions. I will make sure I contact all of them and have recommendations for next month. A few announcements. We did have a little groundbreaking ceremony yesterday out at the airport for the kickoff to the start of construction for the airport runway project. Nancy Wickman is retiring after 22 years of service with our Community Development Department. And on this Friday, October 13th from 2 to 4 p.m., we will have a little retirement celebration right here in the council chambers for Nancy.
I understand you can come the day before and get cake for her birthday too, is that correct? Are we invited to that?
Anybody that shows up, there's cake.
All right.
Come at 11 o'clock.
Also, Lyle Sattler is retiring on November 16th after 18 years of service with the Public Works Department. And I'm sure Brad will have an announcement about a little get-together for Lyle, right?
Yep.
The Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities Fall Conference is November 16th and 17th in Alexandria. And if you would let Glory know by November 7th if you would like to attend. And also, looking ahead to December, on December 12th at our council meeting, we'll have the 2017 budget tax levy truth and taxation meeting at 6:01 p.m. during that council meeting. Anything else from staff that needs to come before the council? Okay, Bruce, got anything else?
Well, I noticed a couple of gentlemen here wearing NDSU shirts. Are you just here to see good government in action, or what are you here for?
We're required through our public health course to attend like a city council meeting or pretty much a city council meeting. They offered a bunch of them, so we decided to come to this one, Detroit Lakes, because it was kind of close.
You should have come last month, we had 3 hours.
Yeah.
But by coming to Detroit Lakes, you did choose wisely. Thank you.
Yeah,
Anything
thanks
else?
for coming.
Mark, anything else?
I would just like to encourage everyone to take a look at 609 Ridgewood Road, and I just think if you need to see some of this stuff, you'll understand what some of the problems can be around town if we let it go too far.
See you all tomorrow night at the fire hall.
Okay, Jamie? Dan? Madeline? Dan?
Nothing further.
The business of this council has come to a conclusion and the meeting is adjourned.